Oh, man. This game between the Indianapolis Colts and the Jacksonville Jaguars is about as good as it can possibly get. I mean, listen, I am a football fan, a fanatic through and through. Started playing at 5 years old, played up and through high school until I realized I was in no danger of playing in the NFL or even the college level at that. I mean, I was not very good. I didn't want the smoke. I started commissioning a fantasy football league when I was 12 years old, still run it to this very day. I've been watching football religiously on Sundays for years and years and years. I love the game of football, right? But make no mistake, the NFL and any sport at that is not just an athletic competition. Sure, it is that, but if it was just that, there would really be no reason to watch. There'd be no stakes. This is entertainment. And any good piece of entertainment has a story, right? You would know that from the WWE, perhaps even UFC. Conor McGregor, the biggest fights are not just about the punches and the kicks, they're about the anticipation leading up to it. Again, they're about that story, and this storyline of Gardner Minshew returning to Jacksonville, especially for these Indianapolis Colts, is about as good of a story as one can possibly ask for. Word of the day, story, right? Because since 2003, that is over 360 games. That's probably almost 400 games. The Colts have only been shut out 3 times. That's now 20 years. 3 times in 20 years. All 3 of those shutouts have come against the Jaguars. You think this is a big game right here? You think there's a lot on the line? These two teams are at 3-2, tied for the division. And the Colts, as I have been saying, things just feeling a little bit different this year, and there has been evidence, right? We beat the Ravens 22-19 in overtime. That snapped a 3-game losing streak against them. We beat the Titans 20-16 last week. That snapped a 4-game losing streak versus them. Coming into this season, we had a 7-game home losing streak. We broke that as well. Now, sure, we did lose week 1 to Jacksonville, and now we're going to Jacksonville, and we have lost 8 straight games in Jacksonville. For those of you who aren't great at math like myself, I took the time to do it in advance. That was the year 2014. That's when I graduated high school. You remember COVID? That feels like a while ago. 2014 was when Ebola was going on, okay? Literally COVID before COVID, like COVID of a different generation, right? I mean, 2014 was a while ago. That's the last time we won in Jacksonville. And the funny thing about this game is that if I was a Jacksonville Jaguars fan and I'm looking at this game, the Colts are missing Anthony Richardson. The Jaguars at 3-2 were the favorites coming into this season. I would be thinking to myself, you know what? We should win this game. And you know what? Just objectively, as a Colts fan, let me just say it. The Jaguars should win this game. It's their game to lose, in theory, given all the things I just said. But as Shane Steichen so eloquently put in his press conference, someone was asking him, hey, do you stress the importance? Obviously, you don't want to lose track of the big picture here, but do you stress the importance of these individual games? And Shane Steichen, straight face, right? Oh, yeah, I tell him it's important, right? We're on a business trip here. We have to go out and win the football game. The Colts are on a business trip to Jacksonville, Florida, to come out with a win and end up in first place in this division. I mean, you want to talk about a monster opportunity for Indianapolis to start off 3-1 in the division, 4-2 on the season, and first place in the AFC South a third of the way through the season. That is what's on the line this Sunday, and that's just for the Colts, let alone all the potential emotions that he will refuse to admit that Gardner Minshew is going through. I mean, this right here is as good of a game as there is. I'd imagine people that aren't fans of the Colts or the Jaguars are interested in this game this week, and you can't say that often about these Indianapolis Colts. I mean, this is going to be awesome. So I want to talk about it. Little game preview as per usual, right? I want to talk about what the Colts have to do to win this one. some of the key players or pieces I'm looking at, things I'm looking for in the game, things I will be observing. And then, as per usual, I'm going to hit the parlay of the week at the end of this thing. So let's get into it. But before we do, as always, I have to introduce myself. My name is Justin. This right here is the Ride in the Bench Coltscast. As always, if you are enjoying it, go ahead and shoot it a like. It is going to help me get out to as many Colts fans as humanly possible. If you want to stick around for the journey, perhaps you're a returning listener, your third, fourth, fifth, 10th time, I'm looking at you. Have you subscribed yet? Now would be the time to do so. You could stick around with me for as long as I'm doing this, which, by the way, will be forever. But most importantly, just enjoy the video. So now that we've gotten through the housekeeping, let's go back to the game preview. And what is a game preview without going through the injury report, right? I mean, very, very important who's healthy and who is not healthy going into a given game. So the Indianapolis Colts, very, very, very healthy right now. It looks like we're about to have everybody all the way down except maybe Mo Ali Cox, and we know that Braden Smith will not be partaking in this game, starting right tackle, one of the better in football. That's obviously a big loss for Indianapolis, but it is the only guy we will be without. And in week 6 of an NFL season, you got to be pretty grateful for that. Well, I say the only guy will be without, obviously Anthony Richardson as well. But as much as I love Richardson, when I think about, I don't know, that was really a misstep by me. But we've been, Gardner Minshew is like 3-0 as the Colts quarterback. So for me, the quarterback, I think we could win either way. I'm just as confident in winning with Minshew as I am with Anthony Richardson. I suppose that's why I worded it that way. Now we go to the Jaguars side of things on the injury report. And really, what we're looking at is Christian Braswell. Now, listen, I'm not a nerd. I don't follow the Jaguars. I don't know who that is. Perhaps he's good. Walker Little, offensive lineman, knee, out. The only guy I've heard of here that is out is Zay Jones. Why? Because I play fantasy football. In fact, the guy I was versing had him starting. Had to sit him on the bench. No big deal. Got no problems with that. Thank you, Zay Jones, for hurting that knee. No disrespect. Got no problem with you sitting down for this game. So really, the big injuries in terms of the ones that we're going to know about as normal people that are not nerds is the Zay Jones injury. And then for the Indianapolis Colts, Braden Smith will be out of this game. So, question. How do the Colts win this football game? How do the Colts snap an 8-game losing streak against Jacksonville in Jacksonville and win their first game in that city since the year 2014? Listen, I can repeat this every week. I can regurgitate this all I want. We're at the point right now in the season where we know who the Colts are. This is a team that wants to run the football and are going to play good, solid, and particularly opportunistic defense. And through that, the Colts will be a tough out for anyone. That's always their formula to win. This week, next week, the week after that, in week 18, the Colts are going to want to run the ball well. Any team has to, but the Colts need to. And they're going to want to play good defense, and they're just going to want to move the chains, get first downs, and things of that nature. That's all the Colts are trying to do, man, right? You want to throw to score, run to win? It's kind of what they're doing. At first it was kind of just like this little catchy phrase, but realistically, it's what we've seen the Colts do. That's their formula to win. That's always the formula to win. That being said, what I view as a little bit more important this week are some of the players that we have to watch for. I want to talk about some X factors in this game, of course, that are not named Gardner Minshew. I mean, I already have him on the thumbnail of the video twice. I mean, I think he's gotten enough recognition. I want to start with player number 1. We talk about Braden Smith not being out there. Blake Freeland, I believe the importance of him having a good day goes without saying. This Jags defense, historically, other than the years with Jalen Ramsey, right, and Gus Bradley, go figure, now we have Gus Bradley. Other than those years at that time, the Jags defense isn't exactly known for being particularly stout. In fact, generally, people just default to the fact that maybe they're not that good of a defense, but this defense has been tough this year, and Blake Freeland is going to have his hands full because no matter which, when you're playing tackle, you got 2 options. Pick your poison. You're either going to have Trayvon Walker rushing you or you're going to have Josh Allen rushing you. Either way, that's a tough day on the job for a Blake Freeland. So listen, let's see how he does, but he's a guy that needs to come out and perform well for the Colts to get a win on Sunday. Number 2, I think very, very important, is Juju Brents, right? We look back at that week 1 matchup. Juju Brents didn't get into the swing of things. He wasn't even practicing returning from that wrist injury until early August, and he was not even ready to play week 1, and I believe not even week 2. He might have gotten in week 2, but we know he didn't play week 1, and you think about that monster first half that Calvin Ridley had. Now, don't get me wrong, Indianapolis was able in the second half to slow him down a bit. I'm not sure if he had a single reception, but when you already get over 100 yards in the first half, the damage had been done. Juju Brents is a guy right now who looks so good. He went from looking a step behind to looking like an absolute stud. I mean, the ball skills are spectacular. He's really good at using his hands off the line of scrimmage, a really sure tackler, physical. Juju Brents is looking really good. Curious to see what he brings to the table with no Zay Jones out there. If Juju Brents can have a day, listen, the Jags are still loaded up with skill position guys, right? You talk about Travis Etienne, Evan Ingram, Calvin Ridley, Christian Kirk. These guys are going to be a factor, but Zay Jones also a factor, and often the forgotten man in this receiving game is a guy that is not going to be out there. So if Juju Brents can have a good day, all of a sudden Christian Kirk is going to mostly be lined up in the slot. We have to take Kenny Moore on that all day, every day. We just got to trust him. Juju Brents has a chance to really make an impact and help stifle this Jaguars offense, particularly if that pass rush gets in like it has all season and like it very much did the first time against these Jacksonville Jaguars. So I'm looking at Blake Freeland, Juju Brents. One more player that I think needs to show up in this game, particularly for things to work out for the Colts, is Jonathan Taylor. Now, Zach Moss just ran for like 1,500 yards last week, and that's all good and well. Fresh off the JT contract, hopefully JT treated him to lunch, dinner, and a new car or something like that. I mean, Zach Moss deserves some credit for what he was able to do last week, and I think Zach Moss is a legitimate, bona fide, big-time starting running back in this league. I mean, he has been absolutely sensational for the Indianapolis Colts. That being said, you look at a game like this, the Jaguars have an offense that on any given day can explode. They have a defense that is playing well. And ultimately, if you're going mano a mano, quarterback at quarterback, no disrespect to Gardner Minshew, but if you're looking at Trevor Lawrence versus Gardner Minshew, we kind of all know who the more desirable option is out of those two guys. Say what you want about Trevor Lawrence. You think he's overrated, whatever it may be. If the Colts had Trevor Lawrence, there'd be no conversations about that at all. So let's be clear, okay? We want to try to keep the ball out of his hands. And Jonathan Taylor being involved with Zach Moss, let's see this two-headed monster now. We got the second week of Jonathan Taylor. We know that they're going to try to ramp him up a little bit. Let's see how much they do it. But without Anthony Richardson, who always assists us in the running game, it's time for both of these running backs to get involved. I'm very, very excited to see what the Colts are going to do here, but I would not be surprised if the Colts ran the football in this game over 30 times, perhaps even close to 40 times. Now, that is a long shot. Game flow, of course, has to be in their favor to run 40 times, but the Colts, forget the numbers, are going to be trying to run this football. We know Gardner Minshew's limitations as a down-the-field passer. We love what he brings with his brain. We love his move-the-chains type of throws. I mean, he's very accurate in these short and intermediate throws, quick decision maker, the whole deal. But we know, realistically, the Colts are going to have to chop the Jaguars up, which means they're going to have to get 4 yards, 5 yards, 6 yards, 3 yards, 5 yards, 4 yards. They're going to have to be on time and on schedule, and that starts being consistent in the running game, and that will control the time of possession. Jonathan Taylor, a very, very important piece of that. So Blake Freeland, Juju Brents, Jonathan Taylor. If those three guys play really good football, we will beat the Jaguars and snap that streak, that losing streak in Jacksonville that we've had since the year 2014. Now, as far as predicting it, I don't love to predict it. Do I feel great about this game? I don't feel bad. I mean, that's the spot we've been in with the Colts for quite a little while now. I mean, at least a month. I mean, what a beautiful month it has been, right? I mean, I trust the Colts to put on a show every single week. And again, my anticipation for this game could not be any higher. And how often could you say that when you have your backup quarterback in the game? A beautiful time to be a Colts fan. And this Jaguars game, before you know it, is going to be here. We're going to be watching it, and we'll be discussing it on Monday morning. So that right there is the preview for the game, but don't shut the video off just yet. We have to do the parlay of the week. For those of you guys that don't know, number one, This is not advice. This is the parlay that I am doing. I'm not telling you to do it. Don't put that on me. I'm not the guy, okay? Now listen, if you happen to do this parlay, that is fine, but I never told you to do it. This is simply my parlay, the one that I'm doing. Now, I use FanDuel Sportsbook. They consistently get a plug out of me, despite the fact, little Face ID action right here. You know, the thing with the Face ID is that anytime they ever ask me to log in, I have to reset my password like 100% of the times. I don't know any of my passwords at all. I have a variation of like five different passwords, and it's always not the one that I'm picking, right? I always get locked out, have to reset the password. But parlay of the week, we always do just the Colts game. And I use FanDuel, and they give profit boosts every week, which makes it easy. I'm a conservative type of guy. So here's what I did this week. Just a 3-leg parlay. I want to watch the game in peace. I don't have to worry about everyone's yardage. I just wanted to take some things that I'm pretty sure are going to happen. So I want to start with an alternate total points bet in which the Jaguars and the Colts combine for over 29.5, aka 20-10, 20-13, 17-13, things of that nature. If they could pull that off and finish with 30 or more points, that's one leg down. The Indianapolis Colts themselves have to cover 10.5. Just for your knowledge, as I record this, the spread is 4.5. So this is more than double the spread, right? Combine for 30 plus between the two teams. The Colts to finish within 10.5 points, aka finish within 10, and Josh Downs to get 25 receiving yards. Without the profit boost, that 3-leg parlay is minus 125. With a 30% profit boost, that goes to plus 104. That right there, with that profit boost, you can double your money. Or rather, not you. I'm not telling you to do it. I can double my money if this game is a combined score of 30 plus, the Colts cover 10.5, and Josh Downs gets 25 plus receiving yards. Love that with Gardner Minshew. Gotta love what Josh Downs has been bringing to the table. So with that, I think I'm done yapping. The next time you guys see me is going to be reacting to the game early next week. Should be Monday morning, barring some sort of extenuating circumstance. Look at me using big words. But Monday, that will be the episode in the morning. I will react and talk about whatever it is that there's going to be to talk about coming out of this game. And then I have an awesome surprise for you guys on Wednesday morning. I'm going to be releasing one that you guys are going to like. You could go ahead and speculate what that is all you want, but I know for a fact everyone's going to be excited when they see this episode. So until next time, my name is Justin. This right here is the Ride on the Bench Colts cast. Go Colts.